So earlier this summer, I was at the Florida Band Directors Workshop. Shout out to that. If you have not been, I highly recommend it. But several of the sessions there used the Harmony Director, and I'd heard of the Harmony Director before, but that was really my first time seeing it in use and experiencing it. And I started playing through on the Tonal Energy app and started realizing that a lot of the features that are in the Harmony Director are built into the Tonal Energy app. The difference being that with the Tonal Energy app, for the keyboard features that are on there, like playing, transposing different instruments parts and playing them, or playing drones and stuff like that, all of the keyboard functions are accessed by pushing keys that are on the screen of your device. Which, if you're just playing drones for tuning and stuff, that might work okay, but if you are trying to play parts for different instruments, that might be a little bit cumbersome, especially if you're trying to do it on a phone instead of something bigger like a tablet. So I went on and got a couple of things to allow me to connect a keyboard to your mobile device that you can then use to trigger the keyboard functions in the Tonal Energy app. So I'm going to talk about what you need if you are interested in doing this. Then I'll show you how to set it up, and then I'll show you kind of functionality-wise with the app how it works. So the title of this video is recreating the Harmony Director for around $60 or less. That's assuming that you have a smart device already that you can use for this. I'm going to be using an old Gen 1 iPhone SE that I have for two reasons. Number one, so that I can have a dedicated device for this that isn't my day-to-day cell phone. And number two, because it has the headphone out jack on it. If you have a newer iPhone that does not have the headphone jack on it, you can still use it, but there's some other things that you're going to need in order to create a workaround so that you can amplify the audio through through a sound system or something like that. So, assuming that you have a smart device that you can use, the first thing that you need is the Tonal Energy app. So most of you probably already have that, but if not, it's a $4 app and is really the brains of this whole thing. But if you already have it, you can cross $4 off of the price list already. The second thing that you'll need is a way to connect a USB device to your smart device. So I purchased this. It is a USB to Lightning adapter that I can use with my iPhone. If you have a different device, you might want to find one that is to USB-C or micro USB or whatever your device takes. If you are buying one for an Apple device and you are buying an adapter that is not made by Apple, I would recommend that you buy one that says MFi certified somewhere in the description, because that means that Apple has certified that that product will work with their Apple products. So this was $15. And another thing to note is this has a USB input, but it also has a Lightning input so that you can plug another Lightning cable into it to charge your device while you're using it. And I would really recommend that you get one that has that. Depending on your setup, most likely your smart device is also going to be powering the keyboard that you use. And so it's going to be drawing more power from your device than normal. And so I would really recommend, you can get them where it's just the USB, but I would recommend getting one that has the Lightning or whatever your device takes, having that power pass through so that you can keep your device powered while you're using it. So you'll need some sort of adapter to get USB into your device. And then the last thing that you'll need is a keyboard. Now, I went ahead and purchased this. This is called a MIDI controller keyboard. Number one, it was cheap. It was $40. So $40 for this, $15 for the adapter, $4 for the app. You're at $59. And really, this is all you need. The keys, it only has 32 keys, and the keys are smaller, but they're not tiny. Like, I have big hands and I can still form chords and play it okay. And it also fits on a music stand really easily. So I can keep it here. I have a second podium next to me that I can keep my Chromebook on. I can put this on it, and it's just really small and convenient. Now, you can get MIDI keyboards like this that are bigger, that have full-size keys and that have more keys if you want. Or if you already have a keyboard that you are not using in your program, if it has a MIDI in and out connection, which most of them do, you can use that. Now, some more modern keyboards actually have a USB connection where you can just plug a USB cable right into it and it'll transfer MIDI through that. If you have an older keyboard, which I have behind me, so I'll demonstrate that, you will need to get a MIDI to USB cable. So it has a MIDI in and out jack on one side and a USB jack on the other side, and you can use that to use a keyboard that you already have. So if you already have a keyboard and you already have the Tonal Energy app, then really you're only in it the price of the adapter. So to connect everything up, it's pretty simple. You're going to take your USB cord. Now the keyboard came with a longer USB cord. I bought one that's shorter so that I don't have a lot of extra cable going around because I'm going to put my phone just right next to it. So you're going to take your USB cable and connect it to the keyboard. Connect the USB side to your adapter, and connect your adapter to your phone. And that's it. Once I open up the Tonal Energy app, you can see the Tonal Energy app there. If I play, it will play the audio through. And whatever page I'm on the Tonal Energy app, the keyboard function will still work. So if I have it on the metronome setting, I can still play. I can start the metronome. And I can also have the tuner open while I play. So there's all kinds of things that you can do. You can also start and stop your metronome from the sound page on the Tonal Energy app. Now, if you have a regular keyboard that you're trying to use, then you're going to connect your MIDI cable to the keyboard and then plug the USB side into that same adapter. Now, something tricky, depending on the USB cable that you get, the MIDI jacks are going to be labeled in and out, and the inputs on the keyboard, the MIDI inputs on the keyboard are going to be labeled in and out, or sometimes you'll see three. You'll see in, out, and through. Depending on the way that your adapter is labeled, the way that this one is labeled, you actually plug the in jack into the out jack of your device and the out jack into the in jack of your device, which seems like it wouldn't make sense, but it sort of does, because your device is sending out through the out jack, and what you're connecting this to is then receiving that information through the in jack into that device, and vice versa on the other side. So it can be a little bit backwards. So if you get one of these cables and you plug it in and it doesn't work, just switch these two jacks. Sometimes I think I've seen them where it'll actually be labeled on the jack. It'll say connect to out or connect to in, and tells you which one to connect it to. So again, it just depends on the cable that you're purchasing. But I'll go ahead and connect this up to that keyboard so that you can see that it does work. Okay, so I have connected that MIDI to USB cable to this keyboard here. It has full-size keys on it. It still doesn't have a full 88 keys, but it has more keys than this does. And same thing. So either way, you can use a keyboard that you already have potentially, or you can buy a MIDI controller keyboard, and they come in all different sizes, all different types of keys. Some cool things about this one, I'll go ahead and switch back to it. This one, and a lot of them will have, there's a pitch bend wheel on here. So if you, I can play. And slide that pitch up and down. So if you wanted to do some ear training exercises where maybe you're having your kids identify if a pitch is higher or lower, you can actually use the pitch slide here to slide the pitch up or down just a little bit in between a half step so that you can kind of get down to those smaller kind of between intervals and do some ear training exercises like that. So let me go ahead and just show you on the app some of the features once you have this set up that you can use in case you're unaware of some of the features that are built into Tonal Energy. All right, so now I'm on the sound page of the Tonal Energy app, and so here I can select different instruments. So if I click on sound here, has all of these different instrument sounds that you can use. So I'm a euphonium player, so I can click here on euphonium. Now the keyboard actually has an octave up and down button. So if I was going to play a tuba part, for instance, I can hit the octave down button on the keyboard to get some of those lower notes. And if I wanted to do a flute part, I could select flute and I could use the octave up button to get some of those higher notes. So even though there's only 32 keys, you can still access all of the notes by using the octave up and down key. There's also a transpose up and down key on this keyboard that will transpose the whole keyboard up and down by half step if you want to do that, but you can actually do that in the Tonal Energy app itself, which I think is probably a little bit more practical. So to do that, let's take a look at that. The first thing that you want to make sure that you do is go to Preferences and go to, you'll have to scroll down until you see MIDI settings. And then where it says Use App Transpose, you want to make sure that is on. Otherwise, you will not be able to use the app to transpose your keyboard. So you want to make sure that's on. And then if I come back to the sound page, so you can see it says flute and it says transpose C. So if I play, I can play that, and then if I come here to transposition and scroll down, let's say that I want to do that for an alto sax. If I can go to alto sax, hit done, now when I play the same thing, it's transposed for the alto sax. Now one thing that I noticed that the Tonal Energy app does is if the notes are outside of the range of the instrument, it won't play. So I tried to play some notes down here on the keyboard with it transposed, and didn't get any sound, but as soon as I moved up the keyboard into the alto sax register, I started getting those sounds and they were transposed for the alto sax. So I'm going to go back to concert instrument. So now I'm back in concert pitch. I have full range of the keyboard. Well, I don't have notes down here because it's set to flute. So again, whatever instrument you have it set for, you're kind of stuck with that range. So if I go to organ here, I should have full range of the keyboard. So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing that you can do is if you hit the sustain button, if you push a note, it will sustain, and then you can hit the sustain button again to turn it off. You can also do it with chords. And I'm going to actually go to the clarinet sound for this. If you use it to create a drone, you can change the temperament from equal temperament to just or pure temperament. So if I play a B flat chord here and sustain it, I'm going to play the chord, and then while it's sustaining, I'm going to switch the temperament, and you can hear the intonation change. So it'll lower the third by 13 cents. It should raise the fifth by 2 cents. So if I play the C, so actually the first thing that I have to do is tell it that I'm in the key of B flat. So if we see up here where it says temperament equal, it says key C. You can either select that and change the key, or if you just double press your tonic note, so I'll just push B flat twice, it changes, says A sharp, so it changes there, and then I can hit sustain, play my B flat major triad. there you go. So now I'm in B flat, and it is using just intonation instead of equal temperament. So those are some really cool things that you can do with the keyboard within the Tonal Energy app. I'm sure there's other tips and tricks up its sleeve as well that you can do. A couple other add-ons that you can get that you will probably need. So getting audio to a sound system right here for this video, I just did everything off of my phone. But if you wanted to connect this to a sound system or something, you obviously need a way to get the audio there. So what I recommend, actually kind of have a makeshift one, but you can buy them, and I probably will since I'm going to be using this more as a permanent thing. But is you want to get a cord that has an 1/8 inch. If you have a phone that has a headphone jack, you'll want to get a cord that has an 1/8 inch headphone adapter on one side, and then I would recommend getting one that goes to 2 1/4 inch jacks on the other side. These are actually phono jacks with some adapters on them, but you can buy them where the cable is made this way. The reason for having the 2 is because the output a lot of times will be in stereo, so there's a left and right channel, and this will let you plug both of those channels in to your sound system. So you can do that. I'll put a link to an option for this type of cable in the description below, as well as links to the adapter and the keyboard that I used and the MIDI cable that I used if you want to use your own device. So you can do something like that. Now the cable that I linked to, I have not tried, so I don't know how good it is, but hopefully it'll work for you. If you have a newer iPhone that you want to use that does not have a headphone jack, supposedly, doing some research, you should be able to get a lightning connector that has a that will plug in your phone that will have a headphone jack in it and another lightning connector to it. So the same way that this has the USB and the lightning, you would find one that has the headphone jack and the lightning. And then you can plug your audio into the headphone side, and then you would plug this adapter into the lightning side. And then hopefully you could still plug a lightning cable into this to also power. So you would just need one extra adapter in order to do that. Again, I haven't tried that, but supposedly it will work. So, and I can put a link to one of those adapters in the description below as well. Again, it won't be one that I've tried, so I'm sorry if it doesn't work, but it will at least give you an idea of what to look for. You can read some user reviews and stuff and decide which one you want to get. One other thing that you can add on to this, and you may already have one, if you have a sustain pedal for a keyboard, you can actually plug this into your MIDI keyboard. So this MIDI keyboard here has a sustain jack, so I'll plug that in. And what that will let you do is actually turn the sustain feature of the Tonal Energy app on and off with the pedal. So you can keep that by your foot. So now, right now, when I push, when I play the keys, it's not sustaining. If I push the damper pedal down and play the chord, it will now sustain. And then when I push the pedal, it turns off. Now, for some reason, and I'm not sure if this is, I'm assuming this is an issue with the keyboard, so I'm gonna have to look into this. The damper pedal right now is not plugged in all the way. It's only plugged in part way. If I plug it in all the way, it doesn't work. I have another MIDI keyboard at home that is a little bit bigger, made by a different brand, and the damper pedal plugged all the way into that keyboard worked perfectly. So again, with this one, it's only plugged in part way. So I'm gonna have to do some reading on that and see if that's a flaw with the keyboard itself. So I'm not sure why that's doing that. But if it works, that's a cool thing that you can do as well. But you can also, you don't need that, you can push the sustain button on the Tonal Energy app itself as well. So if you have any questions, please put them down in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. And I hope this was helpful. So I wanted to do a follow-up about the sustain pedal with the Tonal Energy app. When I got home, I set everything back up and tried the same sustain pedal with that keyboard. And again, unless I had the cable partway out, it wasn't working. I know that there is a switch underneath the sustain pedal that switches the polarity that you can use. I tried the switch in both positions and that didn't fix it either. I tried spraying some contact cleaner into the plug and that didn't fix it either. I went back and used my other MIDI keyboard and that worked fine. So I'm not sure what the issue is there. However, I did try this pedal. This is not a sustain pedal per se, although you can use it as one. And you just plug a regular instrument like a guitar cable into it and plug it into the sustain jack. You can use this as a sustain pedal with most keyboards, and I tried this and this did work with the plug plugged in all the way. So I think this is probably what I will go ahead and use. I think I have some other sustain pedals at the school, so I might try those and see if any of those work with that keyboard as well. So just to be aware, if you do purchase that keyboard, you may have some issues with the sustain pedal. It might be a little bit finicky, but even with the one that I have, like I said, I was able to just pull the cable out just a little bit and that worked. So either way, hopefully you can find a workaround.